This podcast is not rated. Listener discretion advised. Mission 250.
Welcome to the Mission 250 Filmcast. We have watched a crap ton of movies already. We've watched old movies, new movies, movies in color, movies without color, movies with sound, movies without sound. We've done all of it. We have a palette for it. Believe it or not, guys, you're looking at me skeptically.
Movies in languages we don't understand.
Yes, that's true. And this week we are doing one of those ones, and one of those epic ones, and one of those black and white ones. It's number 19 on the top 250, so it is, it's up there. 1954,
Wow.
Seven Samurai.
19. Is this the oldest film now going forward? Is there any older film going forward?
Good question.
That is a good question. I think so. We skipped It's a Wonderful Life, which is a little earlier, so no there. Like, we're going to watch that one.
We're just waiting for Christmas.
But this is 12 Angry Men is 57, so yeah, this one's older than that. So this is the oldest one.
Aside from It's a Wonderful Life, yeah.
Yeah, and this
But
movie...
we skipped It's a Wonderful Life. So as far as like this is the oldest...
highest. If you're going to rate
oldest, highest, yes.
Yeah. If you had a little bar that ticked down and then moved around, this would be the tick that stayed where it was, sort of.
Exactly. This is the oldest, oldest film.
Yeah, we get it. It doesn't make any sense, but this all makes sense.
This is lower than my typical threshold for the 60s.
Exactly. Black and white. Yeah, right,
Black and white.
Pre-60s,
different
black
language,
and white.
over 2 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
Over
ticking all those
2
boxes to have you not finish watching it.
Yeah, and I did something I don't typically do, but I think I've actually had to have said that a couple times recently, where I texted you guys being like, give your guys yourselves a chance.
Put
this
your phone
one.
down.
Yeah.
Right, I know.
Shut off the computer. Make sure you're not going to be being yelled at the entire time by somebody.
Kind of impossible, but trying. Yeah.
So hopefully that helped.
I probably made it about 80%. I had about 20% distraction.
Okay, that's damn good for 3.5 hours.
Which isn't bad for 4 hours. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Did the warning actually make you change your methods there? Would it have been less if I hadn't texted you?
Oh no, I disregarded you entirely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I do everything Denny tells me to do.
I mean, absolutely.
No, I tried my best.
Yeah. So let's bring up that timer here, TC. You get to pick how many seconds you think this movie deserves.
We're going 20 so that you start by 15 or so.
We're doing 20.
We got to keep it the same. You don't get any 20, preferential treatment because you're old.
Well, we started at 15, then we went 19. Now we're at 20, I guess. I don't know. That's not really keeping it straight.
Well, no, I think we start around 20 every time now, just so that we have 5-second lead in and then go.
Okay, now, so I think we're just going to start doing it blind, and I'm going to point to John.
Are we going, John?
Is the 20
You're not
seconds
pointing
ready?
at me.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Not pointing
Ready?
at me.
Where's the timer? I don't see
John,
it.
you're up first.
He said he's pointing at me.
I'm going to go
He's a
in
liar.
2 seconds. Ready?
All right, John, we got
Here
20
goes.
seconds.
Fine. Okay, another masterpiece, not as action-oriented as I thought it might be, but you can clearly see how influential it is. I really like this. I found it really engaging. I like the characters. I like the action sequences were amazing. It was good.
Look at that, 20 seconds.
Well done, John.
Yeah.
Right on the mark.
Yep.
All right, TC, you up next.
All right, Denny, you up? All right, I'll go up. I'll go up next. Yeah, agree with John. Masterpiece, masterfully done. The characters were awesome. The story was awesome. The fluid motion of it was great. Even though it was 4 hours long almost, I still had a blast. I thought it was fantastic, and I really liked that main character. And the older samurai, those guys were awesome. And then the guy with the face takes the cake.
The guy with the face. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yoey. Or Yo, or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. 20 seconds. Ready?
All right. Ready?
So I got about halfway into this movie, and I was like, all right, this movie's old and kind of not slow, but it's old. It's black and white. And knowing you guys, I was like, and I was really into it. I was like, the characters are the characters are what is bringing me along with the story, but the editing is there too. To like, it doesn't feel old. Like the editing is fast, and it for a 3.5 hour long movie, it doesn't feel long. Yeah.
The editing,
it's
a good call out that the editing feels modern.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
it
it was
really
so
does.
cool. It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and I mean, it was fluid. And some of those cuts, I mean, the masterful DP.
I was
right?
wondering, back in the days of film,
perfect framing. That when you cut, it looked perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was unbelievable. The amount of attention to detail on what they were framing and how that led into the next frame was impressive.
So they this movie, to get into trivia immediately, started
You have to.
started
How could you
started the
not? There's so many to
multi-camera
know.
way
Yeah.
of shooting. So there were things that they could only do
interesting.
once on set. And,
that makes
But they
sense.
wanted to get the coverage, so he had 3 cameras set up for a lot of those, and this is the first
that was
time.
new or newish?
So like everyone says that it was new. I didn't have a chance to look it up,
Wow.
but the commentary track and the documentary were like that was a new technique that he created with this movie.
Back
To use more than one
Wow.
camera was because that's the standard now, right?
Right.
I mean, unless you're really
I
on
mean,
But I
the
think
A and
that's
B
why
cam.
it seems so modern
Yeah.
because like the edits. I mean, like the edits are
That's-
really good,
that's
but
a good point.
they're going from the same take. Basically, it's not like they're
Right,
editing
right, right.
action to different
So
shots.
the continuity's perfect.
Right.
Of course, because it's one take.
Right.
And that's all we got.
And it looks,
I mean, fucking
it looks
hey, I didn't
really
even think
good.
about
And
that.
they didn't just like
Does.
do 3 cameras with like the same zoom. They would plan it out to be like, all right, I want you to zoom in on his character during this shot. We'll have like one guy do a wide one and then another guy doing something else. And they would actually not just have static cameras. The cameraman would be doing like interactive things. Because if you watch those action scenes, the cameras are like, sometimes they're moving, they're panning, they're like, zooming, they're doing lots of stuff. And it's all planned, and they did lots of practice to like get it right. But I agree, like the action scenes were damn incredible
Perfect.
in this movie. It was really, and like
Yeah,
the
they were.
violence was kind of realistic seeming. The lack of soundtrack during the action stuff.
This whole movie was hyper realism.
Yeah.
Right? It was just
it was
unbelievable
brutal.
realism.
Like there was
I mean,
no
even
blood
the
or anything,
idea,
but like the stabbing
Yeah,
with
but
the
even the
bamboo sticks,
idea
I was
of,
like,
like-
oh God, that would suck.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing about the realism is that when you stabbed, you died.
Yeah.
That's
Never-
what it was.
I
It was like
don't-
they stabbed,
yeah,
they died.
yeah.
It's like
But
which
don't-
would
yeah.
pretty much happen in real life if you're getting stuck with
Right,
one of
right.
those
This is it.
goddamn
Yeah.
things. Or those samurai swords. I mean, you stab it, that's it.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Yep.
Next, we move on to the next guy. And I
But-
mean, just the whole part about the swords and how they didn't have any guns and then the
Right.
guns and then they had to go get the guns and then that was part of the story and you were like riding it along with them the entire time and it was that slow, but it didn't feel it.
And the
was
whole
great.
fact they had the little circles for each of the bad guys and each of the good guys to just like
Oh, yeah.
keep
So
tally.
keep score.
Yeah,
That was
it's
brilliant.
yeah, it just makes it easier.
Yeah, and
because it's
it was
long
their
and you're just like, it
flag.
keeps you up to
Right.
date with what's going on, sort of in like
Yeah.
the most simple way that also
Without
makes
having
sense.
to tell you,
Right,
like, oh,
yeah.
we
Yeah,
just
yeah.
killed 10 or, oh, we're up to 14,
Yeah.
right? Like you could see the ticks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just everything they did in this was
Well, they started off doing it
what
that
people
way,
still
but
copy.
then it got harder and harder, and they stopped talking about it, and they would just slowly go over and just start crossing out the circles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It was
You didn't have to see it each time. But that was like what you bring up too, TC. I really like that, like with the mismatched weaponry, like
Yeah.
how they would like lay an ambush or whatever. But holy shit, they got a gun. We got to run away. Or even like somebody bring out the bow and they're like, oh shit, we got to turn the
Oh,
horse
shit.
around. Somebody's
Yeah,
got a bow. I just
That was
haven't,
great.
I haven't seen that. I don't. And I
This
don't know
guy's
if that's
turned
a
around and he has a
realistic-
horse kick, and everyone stay back. I don't know how to deal with
Right,
this.
right. That like
Well,
like how,
and what I
yeah.
loved about it was when the thieves were coming at them, and then they would see them and be like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!
Yeah.
No, turn around! They've got knives! They've got knives! Don't turn around! Get the horses! Go back!" And it was like just part of the like they would kind of go at each other, but then both of them would get scared
Yeah.
and they would like fall back. It was oh man! And how about fast they all moved? It was
Yeah,
fantastic.
some of the
Every
running
single
was
person in
impressive.
it, because oh my god! And they were all over the place. They were jumping up things over the course of the
Was it
rocks,
sped
over the
up? I almost I
great.
wonder
It
what
had
the
to have
film.
been.
Nobody.
Some of it had to
well,
have
so
been.
they talked about the slowing down, so they probably sped it up too. This movie also has like some of the first instances of slow motion in an action movie. The scene where kind of. So I have nicknames for all the samurai because I'm terrible with Japanese names. The
no.
You know who
Wait,
I'm talking
wait,
about?
let's
Badass
see what we got.
samurai. That's my nickname for this
Badass.
guy. Badass samurai.
Yeah, the guy.
He's
Okay,
the guy with
drunk
the
guy.
sword.
They-
Was he the guy with the
He's
sword?
the one samurai with the
really
sword.
big
You are
sword?
correct, John.
Fuck you.
Good job.
He was like the sword master guy.
He's the guy who stole the gun.
Right. He's
Oh,
badass.
the first.
I'm sorry, I meant the
stole-
sword
yeah,
master,
yeah.
not the guy with
Yeah.
the sword. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
the samurai with the sword. That one. That's the one
you
you're
know
talking
that guy
about.
with the sword?
I called him sword guy. That's how I
I
distinguish
called
him.
him Badass Samurai. His name
Yeah,
is
yeah,
Kyuzo in the movie.
He was cool. Yeah.
So let's go through the names
because
because I'm just going to call them nicknames. So the leader
That's all.
was Kanbei. The young student was Katsushiro.
Elvis. I called him Elvis.
Elvis.
He was
Okay, that's
Elvis
pretty
samurai.
good. Let's
Okay,
call,
we're going
let's call him
Elvis.
Elvis.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna redo this here. Elvis. We got the Jolly Samurai, the happy one. The first one they recruit is Go-Go.
Oh yeah, the nice guy.
The nice
that
guy.
unfortunately dies.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was. I was sad
Go-Go
at that
Bee?
point. I was like,
Yeah.
oh come on.
I know. Yeah.
His name is Go-Go
he
Bee,
was
but we'll
good.
call him the Jolly Samurai.
Okay.
I don't know if any better ones. No.
Yeah, better.
The secondary leader / the chubby one. That guy was
Bald
kind of
guy.
the bald guy, the guy who survives the bald guy at the end.
Yeah.
His
So
name
we
is
survived.
I
to
was
see
calling
another
him the
day.
not samurai looking samurai.
Yeah, he was a chubby one.
Okay.
Chichiroji was his name. The log splitter, who was the hardest to pick out, I found. He was the first one to die too. Do you even remember what he looks like? He's kind of the most generic looking one.
I sometimes got him confused with farmer drunk guy. I think.
Yeah.
Sometimes because they look pretty similar.
Really?
They had
Actually, I take
similar
that back.
hairstyles.
The
was
farmer
like-
drunk guy was the most. He stood out the most just because he was
did,
jumping
but
around all the time.
I got confused sometimes, but yeah, I agree that guy was like a little bit hard to distinguish too.
So log splitter is Hichachi. Is
Log
his name.
splitter. I like that. I love that scene though. It's like he's splitting his logs. Like what? You never seen a guy split logs before?
Yeah. Why are you looking at me? Why are you staring at me?
There are so many little scenes like this that are just.
the little jokes he had during the was funny.
Yeah.
It was just like he's like, I don't know this guy. He's staring at me, so I'm just gonna make fun of it.
First
and
thing
I'm
he
gonna
does,
keep
he like
chopping
casually
wood.
moves his sword away from the guy, just be like, I don't know what's going on
Right.
here.
Yeah, right. It's okay. Right. Yeah. That's another fantastic thing about this film. There's all these little scenes like that you could call out. But the other thing that they do that this guy also shows too is there's an emphasis on morale and how people are feeling about the battle and stuff, and how the samurai themselves talk about how they have to help people, like motivate them. They have
Loosen
to
up a little.
right?
Yeah.
And or this or that they're doing stuff as leaders that are trying to help the people like not lose spirit. And that's, I think that there's a number of scenes in the film that do that really well too.
Yeah, just the recruiting scene, like they do that in a lot of movies,
Right.
and like this one has got to be one of the better ones. It was fun to
this is-
watch. Each
But
one.
this is also, I think I was reading like on the Wikipedia, and like Ebert was saying this too in his review. This is the first film to do this.
Really?
That in the action film that you have the guy, the leader that goes and recruits the guys that are going to do the job.
the Ocean's 11 or whatever you want to
Right,
call it.
From this.
whatever,
Yeah.
all any heist film, right?
Yeah.
But that this is the first film to do that. That it sets this template of an action film.
And the premise of it too, where they're like, what's the guy say? He's like, we need 7 samurai. He's like, we can't afford
Right.
that. And he's like, well, we have to find hungry samurai. And you're like, ha.
Right.
So they're all going to
Yeah.
be like bad, like not bad, but like, lesser than samurai, down and out
Right.
samurai, whatever, which makes it even more interesting.
B-League.
Yeah.
Yeah, B-League
yeah.
samurai. Yeah, just a hodgepodge of like the losers,
Right.
basically.
They're all going to have
Yeah.
like their own little personalities in there, and it's going to be kind of
Well,
fun.
and by the way, speaking of personality, didn't every single actor on that screen, or character, if you want to call it, they all had personality.
Yeah.
Every single one had a different personality, and it all came together to make a really cool, cohesive unit.
Yeah, in
where they
older-
all had
and-
some
right.
strengths and some
And-
weaknesses. It all meshed, and it was just
And this is like an
Well-written.
old foreign language film. For that to come across, just sort of indicates how
Right.
good this is. Like,
I know. And not just from a director standpoint, but from just like everybody involved in this project. I mean, because you got to think too, like they're running around, their coordination, all those things that like it just seemed natural, probably because they didn't plan a lot of it. They just did it because they had the one take and they were like, we're going to do it. And this is what you're supposed to do. These are the things that are going to happen.
You'll be
and-
surprised to see.
Oh,
There's
did they?
very little
Okay, all right,
improv
good.
in this movie.
But it looked so unplanned
wait, I thought
and
they had
real
the
and just
originally it was going to be 6, and again from the Wikipedia, the very little research that I did on this, that originally it was going to be 6 samurai, but they felt they needed somebody to liven it up. They needed the drunk guy, and so they let him improv a lot. So
for the dialogue, but
right?
for the I think we were talking
Oh, yeah.
specifically for the action stuff.
Oh,
for
right,
the
right,
action
right.
scenes
Yeah, okay,
where
so
they
yeah,
were
for
kind
sure.
of that I
Yeah.
would imagine had some coordination, but some of the things they were doing were fighting wise, like
It looks
I don't know, it
sloppy
just
a little
looked
bit.
real.
Well, it looks
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
you see this over and over, like and maybe that wasn't improv, or maybe that was improv. It just happened. Like you see them fall and slip a shit ton, right, all the time, and that again adds to the sort of like urgency of the whole thing. Like
You could. So there's actually a pretty good the documentary that came with this. It's like an hour-long one. It's specifically for 7 Samurai, and they had a bunch of storyboards. Kurosawa storyboards himself, and they're pretty simplistic, but they get the general idea across, like
of where they're supposed to locate
and where the motion
and
is
be
supposed to be,
located
and like it's like
right,
fence
okay.
here, horse here, people in the foreground chasing that guy. So it's like
I
that's
see.
the shot they get. It's like it's not necessarily like stay on your feet or you're gonna fuck up the shot. It's like everybody here run away from the camera in that way, like sort of
whatever
thing.
happens while that's happening.
Yeah,
all good.
roll with it.
Yeah.
And there's actually a pretty extreme example of that happening. We're just in trivia right now. Should we just go straight into it?
It's
I mean,
hard
how
not
can you
to.
not?
Yeah.
I want to know so
Okay.
many of these
So
things.
there's-
That's what I was dying to hear. I couldn't care less what we think about it.
So
I want to know all this
this
stuff.
is gonna get back around to what we're talking about now, but it's gonna be a little bit of a story before
yeah.
I get there. So there's the scene
Okay.
where they attack the bandit village and they catch them all sleeping. The 4 samurai that end up going, and they start burning the building down that all the bandits are sleeping in. They actually burn that hut, whatever you want to call it. They only had one to burn down, and even back then, you needed fire trucks on standby to burn something down like that. That day was particularly, it's just, why not? But it's back in the day. You'd think Hollywood used to be pretty. This is
never
Hollywood,
know.
but
Wait,
still.
This wasn't Hollywood. This was Japan.
But just
So,
even
right.
like a film industry back in the 50s,
Right, I guess,
you would think it would be
yeah.
a little less safe, but good job. They were doing a good job back then. But that day was really dry and there were fires all over the place anyway. So every single fire truck was gone for the whole day. And so during that period of time, all the actors and most of the crew were just sitting around waiting for the shot because they couldn't do anything. But Kurosawa and one of the production people on the production side went around and started dousing everything with gasoline because they wanted to make sure that it actually burned. So they sat there for a little while, like, what if it doesn't burn right? We should probably make sure it burns right. And then they
Just give
started
it some
going
more
around
gasoline.
and just pouring gasoline on this hut. So by the time at the end of the day, when all the fires were put out and they got a fire truck to come back and they needed to shoot it this day and they wanted to burn, this thing one time and get it right, they set it on fire and it burned a lot faster than they thought it was going to burn.
shit.
And
Oh,
people
no.
were inside this thing. Like all that was real and it was getting
man.
hotter way faster. And he kept yelling, oh shit, I have to get this quote because he was yelling one word over and over again. It was something like keep going or something like that.
Keep filming, keep filming, keep
It
filming.
was
don't you
keep
dare.
going. He was yelling, keep
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
keep going. And everyone was like freaking out because the thing was
They're like,
collapsing.
dude, we're gonna die. This is not
They're
what we
like,
planned.
Yeah.
my skin's burning.
And the
This
shot
doesn't seem right.
There's the shot where one of the samurai whose wife was taken and the wife runs back in
Yeah.
to kill herself because she's ashamed.
Well, it's the farmer's
Oh, yeah.
wife that like got abducted, right, and became a concubine.
Yeah, was
So
it the farmer?
It was
That
one of the
one
farmers.
with them?
Yeah.
Okay. So one
Yeah,
of the guys
yeah.
that was with them. But so that
But,
guy
yeah.
was trying to go in and save her, and there was kind of a long shot of him trying to run in there and then kind of covering his face and backing up and falling on the ground. And something collapsed in the building when that happened during that shot, and a big blast of heat hit him in the
Damn,
face.
so it
He
was, like,
burned
real.
his esophagus when it happened.
Oh, shit.
Like people got injured, people lost eyebrows. It was fucking crazy. And it was just that one shot. So whenever there was a wide shot of that building burning and people running around, that was dangerous as shit when it was happening.
Wow.
And it was because Kurosawa poured gasoline on everything.
Which is interesting because it doesn't seem like that was the most dangerous shot they could have
I
had
know.
Right, but
by far.
Yeah.
Right? I'm surprised no one got stabbed. I'm surprised no one bled out.
Nobody died.
mean-
Nobody
Yeah,
died.
no one died?
Yeah. It's kind of surprising.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. The
But
guy who
that
got
scene-
dragged by the horse, that was a person.
Wait, that was real?
That was a real
I wanted
person.
to ask you. Shut
Didn't it
up.
look
I
real?
thought that
I
was,
was
a
like,
dummy. I was like, that guy, of course. I was like, they actually dragged that
Yeah.
dude, didn't they? And I was like, it's got to
And
be
he-
a
and he
dummy.
was
It
fine?
has to be. It
Holy
has to
cow.
be.
Yeah, I mean, he
Holy
didn't die.
shit.
they didn't
Oh,
they
I
didn't
mean-
report injuries. People talked about it.
What the
Like
fuck?
burned
Maybe-
esophaguses, like that's a pretty bad injury.
right,
I
that's
think.
just collateral, I guess,
Yeah.
but it doesn't count. I don't know. He's still alive.
Yeah.
As long
But
as you
that-
didn't die,
That
we're
scene,
fine.
Yeah.
that, just while you're bringing up that like coming out of the burning house scene, because that's when the first samurai dies right afterwards. The immediacy and shock of how they're basically the way they also introduce the guns, like it's really really shockingly abrupt. The way that like the first samurai dies because he's helping the guy he's
I missed it.
basically,
I had to
keeping the
rewind.
guy- Right,
I
didn't know
honestly
what had happened.
blinked and I missed it. It was so
And
quick.
but the suddenness of it and the introduction of that was also just another like kind of amazing thing here of like just that was like so shocking when it happened.
Did you guys notice that all
I-
four of the samurai that died from the gunshot?
Oh,
They all got killed by the gun.
No, I didn't put that together
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Read into that. Go ahead, movie scholars. Read deep into that. End of an era.
You know.
Time for the gun. Samurais are no
Exactly,
longer.
exactly
Yeah.
exactly.
But I didn't notice it either until they pointed it out in the commentary track with the 4 mounds. They're like each one died
I mean,
by
there's
the
so
the
much
gun.
deep
But
There's so
I
many
didn't
deep
know
things
it,
in
but I
this.
agree,
It's
Denny. I
just
did have to
something
rewind
else.
it because I didn't understand. I didn't know guns were not.
I was like,
they
when
didn't
did he
talk about
die?
it.
I thought they were all fine hiding behind the
Right.
rocks.
I thought he tripped
Well, because
in the
it's hard
water
to see
and
when
then-
they fall down if
Right.
they got shot or not.
yeah.
with,
But you hear the
film.
gunshot,
It
but
was
I didn't know.
difficult.
I didn't know guns were a thing. I didn't
Right.
know we get to
I
have
thought it was
guns.
the wood exploding or something the first time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was
Mm.
Yeah. So that's pretty. That was a pretty gnarly scene right there. Just being really irresponsible with his, stunts and whatnot. He got the shot, but they actually, since he couldn't quite follow the direction of what they wanted to do, there were some insert shots. So in that scene, if you see some more close-up shots of them like grabbing each other and pulling each other away, those were shot on a set later and inserted, but also you can't tell because it matches pretty damn perfectly, which is impressive.
So I'm going to forget
Yeah,
to
yeah.
ask this. So I'm going to ask it now. All of these like side swipes, do you have to go and like put that together by hand? Like how is that done back in the day?
So it actually,
Like, there were
from
a
what
ton
they
of them.
described-
Yeah.
I thought the same thing because it was, what do they call it? They used to just call it a fade swipe or something like that. It was a fade transition, and all they did was it was a line fade now, and they called it a swipe. So it was kind of the same technique they've had for a while. They just added a line in it, and no one thought to do that before because they preferred just to have like a smoother
fade, or,
a smoother fade swipe
You
or
mean,
whatever
you
you
mean
want to
this
call
was
it.
the first? You mean this was the first time anybody did the horizontal Star Wars type of?
Yes, in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean, this is George Lucas's favorite
Wow.
movie. This is all the sword
Okay.
fighting was directly taken for Star Wars. Like Star Wars exists because this movie happened, basically, and I'm sure that's true for.
I feel like a lot of
any
movies
action
existed
movie that
because
came
of
not,
this
after
just,
it.
not just films,
Yeah.
but entire genres.
Yeah.
Right? So-
Yeah, right.
And it is crazy
Wow.
too that
It's impressive.
Seven Samurai. You think it would be an action movie, and there is some good action in it, but I would say maybe 2.5 hours of it out of the 3.5 are non-action.
No, exactly that. This is not an action film nearly as much as I thought it would be. This is more of a character film, and I was really surprised by. I thought there was going to be a shit ton of action, and not even half for a good half to almost 2/3 of the movie is not.
Yeah.
And that's
I mean, I knew
amazing.
when we got through that intermission that it was on.
Right.
And then we
You're
start
building- which is
we start
actually-
getting to the
yeah, you're
season
building
being
to this, which
ready,
is
and they're going to
kinda-
start. Yeah, they're going to start harvesting the crops. They're going to start. Here we go. Like as soon as I saw them harvesting crops, I'm like, oh, the bandits are on their way, and I was excited. So I mean, you're right. That first half, although it was set up, I mean, it really built it up. It built it up.
It
right
cruised.
for
that first 2
second
hours
half.
was.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly watched this in 2 chunks, and watching the second half
Same.
from the beginning, it was kind of slow to pick up, but it got there again. But like the first half, it was like I was on cruise control the whole time. I was like, this is amazing. This movie is
It was.
the way
It's
that
so
it
good.
just flows is so interesting, and there's always something interesting going on, and you can read into certain stuff, but it's always simple enough where it's just like easy viewing too. You could always look into like.
I mean, how funny was it when the guy ran after them after he did the fake alarm? And they're all freaking out, and he was making fun of them while he was in. And oh god, I was laughing hysterically at that. And then it just
he
brought
called
like
them,
all the
mud
characters
snails
and
and blockheads. Like,
Yeah,
what are these
yeah,
insults?
right. But
And-
I mean, the funny, it
and
was
it-
so good because
it
the
was-
way that he started that whole thing was just such it kicked off a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like that,
Exactly.
that little speech was like a turning point for him and a turning point for the rest of them.
Yeah,
So
it
it's not
sounds
just
great.
it's not just funny,
Yeah.
and a lot of things like this in terms of the way the film is put together. It's not just funny. It's not just there's this comedy bit here. It serves a real purpose as far as moving the
Purpose.
story
It
and
does.
illustrating
Yeah.
something and trying to make a point about how they're feeling about the samurai and how they're treating them one way, but they when there's a sense of danger, they're going to change their tune. That was all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really cool. You're right. So there's a lot of moments like that too, where it's like, this is funny, but it's not just that, right? It's also like everything really
Or
feels
like-
Yeah,
Just
nothing
the
is
fact
just
that they-
exists for the sake of a laugh ever, right? Yeah,
Right. I mean, because you
or
figure even
action.
the
It feels
hidden
like,
stash, right? The hidden stash was one of those nuggets where like, we just think he's making fun of them, being like, oh, you can't trust the farmers. They have a hidden stash everywhere, blah, blah, blah. Nothing comes of that for like 2.5 hours. And then it makes a point that it's coming when they're all about to die.
Yeah.
And of course they had the stash. So he was right. But also the fucking farmers, you got to watch out for them. And then it also goes into the same discussion about them being fighters now. So you do have to watch out for them because not only are they going to be sneaky, they're also going to fight for their livelihood, right? Yeah. So it's really, I mean, nothing that they put in this movie was like you said, nothing was by chance. It was all there on purpose.
And there was a couple of really heavy scenes. Like there's the scene where he's, chopping his daughter's hair off. I thought about that I'm still thinking about that just because like that would be a terrible situation to have to live through, not knowing what's going to happen there and just being afraid. And it was a pretty creepy shot, honestly, but it was good. Like he walks in on his daughter. She's bent over doing laundry. And the father is like thinking of her in a sexual way. And then thinking about how negative that is that these samurai are coming in. Like it's a really kind of a risky kind of thing to do, but it works because his intentions are real and the fear is real.
And the actors, all of them, this guy shows it. He shows this fear and this intensity, right? And that also sells it incredibly well. Like and even when he the same guy when he's like so upset that his daughter has slept with the samurai, it's pulled off because he really shows his how upset he is about this, how he feels like his daughter has just given herself away, and now and again, it's not a very modern sensibility, but it works very well within the film, and it shows because he really plays it like again like you said earlier, TC, like every character here is really playing their role. In a very like I don't know in just a way that feels deep. It feels like these are real people. It feels like whether not just the samurai, but each farmer that has their part, and it's just really.
There's a lot of farmers that give a lot of backstory too.
Yeah.
It's also so hard to write a story with this many people and have them all really be important. I mean, like there's so many characters, and all of them have a part to play. And all of them actually need to be there.
Yeah, there's such great fucking counseling scenes where they're like talking about anger or they're talking about war.
Oh, I know.
It's fucking good. And each it's just amazing.
Or when he goes and gets the baby. When he goes and gets the baby from the water,
it's
the same thing that happened to me.
Baby is me.
I was like,
this baby is me. That was amazing.
It's really good.
Yeah,
it was.
It's
the daughter. The girl that was sleeping with the samurai the night beforehand, and she's like, "Are we going to die tomorrow?" And he's like, "I don't know."
Sure,
and like that.
Right,
her acting
that
there
scene,
was
that was
incredible.
amazing. That was also really
oh my god!
Good,
and then all the
yeah.
women had to fight. I mean, that was something I didn't see coming. They actually got out there with their hoes and their shovels, and they were going after the guys. That was like, it was just. You're right. Some of the things they put in, those little bits of nuggets of like fear, and then you have these little nuggets of conversation because people adapt and people are strong and people will withstand and all that.
Right.
And all those little things are just little pieces. Like you put them together over the course of the movie, but they happen in little isolated incidents that if you're not paying attention, like you said, you're going to miss that. And that little nugget plays a part in the overarching story. So it really, I mean, it's for
really
once,
good. And
I like a movie from 1955 to 60.
Yeah, and especially like I mean, again, another how that plays out between the girl and Elvis in the end, where she goes back to the farmers, is so well done. Like how it's just clear that this was the moment and she was terrified and she thought she was going to die, which is totally understandable. And yet that means for him, he's all in love or whatever. And for her, this was more like something she did because she was terrified and she didn't think, she'd live. Mm-hmm. And that played out amazingly, in terms of her like turning her back on him and going back to the field and singing this song. And he's like, fuck. It's just, again, really well done. Before we lose the side swipe, I still wanted to ask, like, did you learn about how they had to do it? Like, he's the editor. Do you have to go in and like hand cut this film?
I think there was a so they didn't say specifically, but it's not too dissimilar from the previous type of fade they had. So it sounds like there was a process to do it. So I don't think it required doing it by hand
wasn't
because there was
too much.
they
Okay,
just had
okay.
to alter the process, whatever that process is or was.
Because I would just
to do
be
it.
interested. I didn't know how you get that smooth like line that goes to from one scene to the next. It just
And
it
at the
just looks
very
so
least,
cool.
it would be do the process and then go in frame by frame and add a line. That's got to be easier than like putting two shots together, right?
Oh, maybe
have the
so,
machine
yeah.
put the shots together. You go in, put a black line where it would normally be a soft fade between the two, sort of thing.
Oh, I guess so.
That's just a guess.
Maybe.
I'm just guessing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
Not sure. Yeah. It's old film. They had
Yeah, like
weird techniques
pre-digital
back
on
then. And yeah.
Yeah, if it was effort, that's a lot of swipe fades. This movie was the most expensive Japanese movie ever made. It went 4 times over budget from what they wanted. They actually shut down the production a number of times,
wow.
and kind of stopped it, being like you're spending way too much money.
You're done.
Yeah, and there's conflicting stories about what happened once that happened. Some sources say that Kurosawa went and argued with the board of Toho, who is the production company who does all the Godzilla movies. Still, they did Godzilla -1, so they're still around.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, so they did actually the first
Jesus.
Godzilla and this movie came out the same year, same production company. And they were the two biggest budget Japanese movies at the time, so they were rolling the dice and it paid off pretty good. They're still
Yeah,
around.
this one was
so.
like it was the second highest grossing film for Japan. I saw it on the Wikipedia. I wonder what the first highest grossing one was that year. If it was maybe it was Godzilla.
Probably. Yeah, Godzilla is more of a pop culture thing, I think. This is more of like an art house film school type
Yeah.
of thing. Because, I mean, it is old, it's black and white, it's Japanese, foreign language. It's not an easy sell,
Nope. Well, you think
3.5 hours long.
again? It's very. I again assumed it was going to be this total action picture, which again it wasn't. It was. There's action for sure, but I wouldn't call it that. I wouldn't say this is. Even though it establishes a whole
It's
lot
kind of
of
like if
things
you have
that
Lawrence of
later action
Arabia
films would
and
do.
Das Boat and you mix them together. That's what this movie is.
That's wow.
You got like a
Well
war
done, yeah.
epic in there, and then you got an ensemble cast in there,
I want to watch both of
Yeah.
those again.
Yeah.
Maybe not Das Boot
Those
because it
were-
was
yeah.
so tense.
Oh, yeah.
Lawrence of Arabia though.
Yeah, have
But
the
yeah.
deodorant on hand if you watch that
Yeah,
one.
no shit.
Larry
Yeah, that one.
Arabia, how we
Larry.
doing?
Let's go back to Larry.
Long time no
Get a
see.
spackle
I
that
miss-
desert.
Yeah, you can spackle it with the trailer. How you doing? Yeah, he's out there still. It's a big desert.
It is. He's lost out there, but he's good. He's got his white
Yeah.
clothing on.
There's a whole
Timmy's
bunch
just
of-
roaming around.
Every now
He's
and
got
then you'll
nothing
just
to
go
do.
out there and
it's getting hot.
Yeah, it's getting hot out here, guys. Anybody coming back? Alec? Baldwin? No? Fuck. Is that too soon?
No, it's okay.
I guess he did just start
No,
the
it's
trial.
all right.
Okay.
It's okay. He's
Yeah,
long
but
gone.
yeah, Timmy's out there looking for Larry still. Larry's on his own, but yeah.
They'll be looking for each
soccer
other
here, whatever
forever.
it
It's their
is.
destinies.
Woo.
Yeah.
Yep, they're gonna be out there.
I think.
But yeah, that's a good comparison.
Yeah. And I think I was I was trying to say something about something in trivia, but then I got derailed with other trivia, and now we're here, and I forgot where I started. So
It's
that's
okay.
good.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna ask anything more about
We
side
don't
swipes.
operate as linearly as
That's fair.
this movie did.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what else was good? Let's just keep praising it while we can, and I'll start going
What
through
else
my
was
notes.
Scenery. I mean, the village. It makes me
village
think of
is
the way
great.
they did Lord of the Rings too. Like they have the hillside, like where you got all these sceneries with the hillside of the village. That was, you could tell this was not a set. And that also was really impressive, I think, and it came through the film still. So that was another thing, just the way you felt like you had a real sense of place, a real sense of this village. And as they were defending it, you get this sense of to the east, to the north, and they lay it all out as part of the plot. They're like, all right, these are these defensible areas. All right, this is what we're going to do. Here's where they're going to come, and they do it in a fucking way that I'm following. Like I'm like with their, they've got their little map there. They're showing. I mean, the exposition in this film is really, really like efficient.
It doesn't feel like exposition at all because they're all
Right.
strategizing
Right.
to know
Right.
what they're going to do.
So, and then they'll give you they'll give you fucking pictures along the way.
Yep.
And,
They'll give you
and
a
so-
count
so
of the
then-
bad guys and themselves so you can follow
right.
along.
And they make it a fucking flag so you remember
Yeah.
you got the samurai there, right? And it's really cool, the symbolic nature of that, where they have that as their banner, where they've got the 7 samurai and the farmers. It's just the way this film does exposition is amazing. Like maybe second to none in terms of laying out a complex action drama story and having you follow it along. And then that might be why it feels like it moves so well. They're not spending any time explaining what the fuck is going on, because they're able to do it just really efficiently somehow. And man, it's so you have this sense of place, and then they have this exposition that helps you really understand the place. So you like really feel like you get to know this village sort of, or at the very least how they're going to defend it. And that's again really amazing.
Yep.
One thing I'll give it one flaw here. The guys are their first wave. Let 2 guys in, block out the rest with the spears, kill the 2 guys. Fantastic plan. Then the bad guys fall for the same plan the second time. Really?
Right.
Bad guys, you just saw what they just did. You're gonna do that
that's
twice?
something I don't know. Not just the second time.
Thieves are notoriously stupid.
They're stupid.
And they
So,
stopped
yeah.
after 2 times. They're like, they're not going to fall for that
not
one.
after 2 times. I thought at the very end too, they're gonna be like, we're gonna let all of them go in. You'd think at some point the bandits would be like, all right, look, these fuckers are hiding in the sides.
They're
there.
right on
we
each
should
side.
go and get them. All right, let's not just ride past them and be like, oh, look, they're behind us. No, you go
But I
get them
think
on the sides.
they're probably,
there they are.
They're
every
organized.
time.
Usually when my assumption for that last part there was that these guys are well trained, and they're usually when you have people running around town, organization goes away really quickly. Even if you have you're like, we're going to do it, guys. As soon as you start seeing people get killed, you might just start running around like a fucking idiot, But these guys, through the battle, were still at their posts, still following commands, and they might not have been expecting that because they are bandits attacking farmer towns, right?
Right. And that is another thing. The film, again, with minimal exposition, shows the importance of staying information, of staying in your, and it's like one big plot point in the film is the one guy leaves
Where he fucks it up for everyone.
He
kills the old guy. That was one of the saddest parts of the movie. When the guy's like, I stayed to my post, and he croaked. I'm like, fuck.
Right.
That guy was so old.
I know. And it was his buddy.
Yeah.
I think that was and that was why that was such an important section, though, because it was like now that character just went through something, he made a bad decision, and now it fucked everything up.
Yeah,
So,
it did.
But yeah.
And that was, but also that it helps you understand why they were doing well, because they show this, like, the discipline that they were pushing in on them. And again, another really great scene.
Because I thought too, like, to stick on that for a second. So save your thought, John. Because he goes and he gets a gun, and I'm like, "Fuck yeah, this guy's the man." What he's doing is great.
I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, but then as soon as he gets back, the leader samurai was just like, "What have you done, dude? This is about teamwork. Like, I don't care that you got the gun. You fucked us." And like, there's and he did.
And then he did.
Yeah.
I know.
It was good. I like.
I was team.
Yeah, I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Take your pants off and get the gun, man. This is a good idea.
Dude, I was like, this guy's going to go and kill them all by himself.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And that wasn't it. And I was a little disappointed in that, to be honest.
I know,
and then, of course,
but it
all
still,
I like how it brought us
still
around.
good, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
like,
it's
bring the
interesting,
message
too, because,
home,
like, the lesson is, right, like, if you're the one towing the line as the leader, you cannot divert from that, because then you're going to screw it up for the entire organization, which in this instance is their group. So it's like,
so they
those are lessons you're learning on top of seeing something great.
Right. Another thing folded into this film, again, along with the counseling, and they talk about emotions, don't keep stuff. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Like, they're like, you shouldn't really keep stuff bottled up inside.
I thought that was such an interesting,
good.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, or like when he's looking at him staring, he's like, "What are you staring at?" And he's like, "You're a magnificent person. I always wanted to tell you that." I was like, "What?" I was like, "That is like," and it was sincere. At first, I was like, "Is this a joke?" And then it was sincere.
No,
and it was like,
Elvis
that's
guy,
just part of this movie.
Yeah, he's just looking around, looking for people to admire. And again, it's really well done in the sense of, like, initially he's going after the leader, but then he's like enamored with the swordsman guy who's because that's like he's
that
really
guy's obviously the best out of the group.
Right.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Right.
He's Kill Bill.
And
or whatever, you know what I mean?
He looks like David Carradine a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But he's really cool because he's like, he's dedicated to his craft or whatever, but then he shows his soft side by not telling on that Elvis had the girl and all of that. I
also like it when he was like falling asleep after he got the gun, and he's like, he's tired. The guy's like bothering him. I think he's gonna get pissed off, but he doesn't. He just like is like, "What do you want?" And then he sits there and kind of smirks and then goes to sleep. We're like, okay, that's a pretty. He didn't do what I thought he was going to do.
And he felt good about it. Yeah.
It's really cool. But another scene that was really good, which again is like shows how they're just folding in all of these ideas of war and what you need to do, where the scene where you have like a bit of a revolt amongst the villagers because they want them to leave their they're going to have to like across the river. They're going to have to like just not let 3 of the village houses go, including the mill or whatever. And so the people that own those revolt, and how the leader like gathers them back and says, fuck no, get the fuck over here. You can't do this. That whole scene was awesome too. And then he gives a speech about it. It's like, you can't do this. Or, that this is not what you do in war. You have to do this. If you look out for yourself, you kill yourself. And that was, again, really fucking well done. Right. And again, it's echoed again when the guy goes and gets the gun himself too and leaves his post. Right. And so again, it's hard to think of a movie that does so much, that tells you so many things, that gives you so much in terms of minimal exposition, characters, action.
Well, it's hard to do that with a movie under 2 hours.
Right. I was going to say, this movie has 3.5 hours and uses it pretty well.
It does. Yeah. You're right. But goddamn, I don't know of any other film
it is two movies, basically.
Right.
Yeah, basically, it's 2 movies.
Lawrence of Arabia is how long?
I think it's around the same. It's around 3.5 hours.
It's another film that's just awesome and does not feel like there's
slightly
any blood.
more modern. But it's only about one person.
Color.
Color goes a long way.
But Arabia, it's long. But there's a lot
3
of
hours,
like
42 minutes. So just around the same as this one.
But there's a lot of a lot of like sitting with things in Arabia.
A lot more character driven stuff than the amount of action.
But also with Lawrence Arabia, you're gonna like have like a 5-minute sequence of some guy just approaching you out from nowhere in the desert, just to give you a sense of the distance and depth of the desert. So that film has a lot of like more just like lingering moments, which work really well. But this film isn't like that. This film is
it's jam packed. This one's jam packed, man. There's always something happening. It does not get boring.
Yeah.
And Lawrence of Arabia has
saying that. I get bored by everything. Fucking the day, the sun bores me, right? So like this you would think it, this actually worked. I was, just enthralled, I guess is the word, with all of what was happening on screen and all the characters.
And the thing is, like, this movie, comparing it to Lawrence of Arabia, it doesn't have like the shots. Like there are a few shots that are really nice, but like Lawrence of Arabia has some of the best shots I've ever seen.
You don't have the cinematography. You don't have that, right?
But there are some shots like in this one where just the intro, it wasn't like the very first shot, but it was kind of the first plot point where the bandits go to the edge of the cliff and you can see the town. It's like a weird shot because they're on a hill and the town kind of looks like it's 90 degrees, like Inception almost. Like you're looking down at a map of the town, even though the camera is flat with the ground where you are. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like it's just an odd shot.
It looked weird.
Yeah, but it looks really
that's why
good.
It looks really good. For a minute, I was thinking that means it's like, what is this? Is this a matte painting or something?
Yeah, it's not.
And so
could have been
right. I know, but it did look really weird at first. But it's giving you this odd sense of them versus the village, which I kind of liked. It sort of like highlighted this like distinction between them as about this is like here's the bandits and here's the village, and this is what we're going to be like working with for the next like 3.5 hours.
And the whole story of the 3.5 hours kicks off because one farmer stands up and overheard the like 2 pieces of dialogue the bandit said and didn't die and just he doesn't say anything and just runs down to the town. Just completely silent plot progression. Having a guy pop up, look concerned, run down the hill. That's the beginning of the entire movie.
That was the beginning of the faces.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to note about the Lawrence of Arabia thing is the aspect ratio is extremely different. So we had much more real estate. To see things, and this aspect ratio is like a box.
Square.
Well,
it's basically a square.
4x3 square. So there's only so much room to.
No, that's true.
But
also, just again, I mean, with Arabia, another a very like prominent character in that film is the fucking desert. That's like that the
isn't the town a character in this movie too, John?
Yeah, right.
It is, but it's contained.
Yeah, it's a different kind of character. Yeah.
I mean, the idea with the desert is that you need to like understand its vastness and how fucking empty it is, and that's like hugely important to that film. And or I don't know if it's hugely important, but it's like something that's enormously well presented to you, like you feel it, and that the cinematography is part of that, and it's gorgeous, right? But it's also not only gorgeous, but it like gives you the sense.
Because I mean,
of the depth.
let's be honest, if it was black and white desert. It would
Yeah,
just
it might
look
not
like
work.
snow.
So the color helps, right? Yeah,
right.
You're right.
So
That's true.
Yeah, it's got a lot of differences. What we're finding here is that it's not similar at all. But what it is
fair.
similar
That's
in
right.
is
It's
how
3.5
it is
hours
epic.
long. That's about as
Yeah, it's
3.5 hours long.
So that we've
Well,
got down.
that it's an epic. Lawrence of Arabia. I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly, but all the characters were amazing in that film too.
the
That film has
dialogue
a
was
shit-
interesting. You're like
the
hanging
dialogue was
on the
amazing.
dialogue, which
Right.
is hard to do. You're just like
Right.
waiting for the next person to say something because everything you've heard has been
Right.
so good so far.
Yeah.
So you know
But
it's going to be good.
That film. I mean, that film is more centralized on one character, on Lawrence himself.
Yeah,
But
that's where the Das
every
Boat comes in and makes love with the Lawrence of Arabia, John. And then, even though this one's older, they have a little Das Arabia
I love
baby
it.
right there.
You're right.
It's
You're
a
right. Then you have the
generational wealth
ensemble,
kind of
right?
thing,
Yeah.
And
you
they're
know?
trapped
It's
in the
passed
village,
down.
like they're trapped in the
village,
boat.
yeah. And like the periscope
Awesome.
is like looking up the hillside and seeing if the bandits
That's
are
right.
up there
That's
yet.
right.
Are they
Awesome.
coming? I'm nervous. We're all nervous down here.
But whatever, like it's interesting that we think of these other two films in this context because those are some
It's
of the
mostly
best
because they're
films
3.5
I think
hours
we've
long,
seen.
I think.
they're
Honestly,
also
it's
long.
just
I
the
think that's
They're
length.
really
epics.
the kicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that brings it all together.
They're epics with amazing characters and amazing sets, like a sense of place. And so I think that
The sense of
they
place,
all,
yeah,
they
it's
all
definitely
fit
there.
together really well. In that sense, it's like it's understandable that we bring up those other two because I don't know if there's a.
I mean, I was
I don't
looking.
know,
I
there's
was looking
more.
at the movie list, and Ben-Hur was like around the same time, and it tries to be the same thing, but like this one does it so much better. Just all the
And-
dialogue scenes in Ben-Hur were kind of like shitty, like fake Shakespearean plays type
All
of thing.
What
where
do you
they're
think
like,
of when
"I'm
you think of Ben
Charlton
Hur?
Heston,
Right.
listen
What do you
to
think of when
me."
you think of Ben Hur? What comes to mind?
A
Having
chariot
seen
racing
that
scene.
fucking thing, chariot
And then
racing
3
scene.
hours
I
of really
think
boring
bronze-
sets.
Bronze people. is
Bronze
what I
shoe
think.
polish.
All I
Yeah.
think of is Jesus'
polish.
really beautifully
the
coiffed
luscious
hair from the
locks.
back.
Yeah, that's
yeah. I
pretty
think
good.
of Jesus' great hairdo from the back. That's all I fucking
Doesn't a
remember. from that
spaceship
film.
with Jesus in it come down at some point in that movie? I'm pretty sure
What?
there's a
No,
spaceship
I
in
don't-
that movie.
Is there?
I think so.
I
Who
think
That
cares?
could've been a
Nobody
dream,
cares. Nobody wants to watch that movie.
Yeah, but that movie was boring. This movie is really engaging. I think it's, like some of the, I don't know, Ben-Hur seems, people go to see the action in movies like that, like
Yeah.
Spartacus as well.
But
Like
wait,
you go to
but
see
think
the
about
action.
this.
In this one, the story is the best part of the movie, and the action is outstanding as
characters,
well.
right?
And the
Yeah.
character,
But think about
the
this.
story and the characters.
We know the language in Ben-Hur. We don't even know the language in
Right, I
this
know.
one. And we had to watch subtitles, and it's still better than
Yeah.
Ben-Hur.
by
Right?
a lot. Like no
By a
question. This is
lot.
better than like most movies. People's
Yeah,
hyperbolic
right.
statements on this movie, I think, totally justified. The fact that it's so old and it holds up so well is just like, yeah.
The
there's
fact
nothing
that
else
if you
like it.
teach this to a bunch of film students, they're going to be better for it. That just says it all.
Yeah, these
right?
the
And that
tactics
doesn't happen for a lot
possibly
of the old content.
created here. Like a bunch of people said, a lot of stuff was created in this movie.
Yeah.
They're still used today because they're good.
Right.
They're still.
Well, no,
yep,
I
they're still
also
good.
I'm just amazed. Like first time use of multiple cameras, like, and again, all of these tropes that we now are very used to in action films. First time doing that, I don't know.
If
It's
you
just
want to,
amazing.
He's a
if you want to
visionary.
learn, like the commentary track was kind of a bore because I'm not a film student. But so there's 2 commentary tracks, and I listened to most of both of them. They talked a lot about the story and the background of the actors and all this other stuff that isn't too great to regurgitate on a podcast. You could just go on IMDb and look that up. But they did talk about the camera shots. One of the guys they had would talk about the specific distances and periods of time they would show shots. He would just like describe the shots they used and how they were intentionally doing a certain thing for a scene. And it's tedious, but I mean, filmmaking to a point is tedious, and you want
It's tedious.
intentionally
Yep.
to do something for it. And he would use specific zooms and times and all of this stuff to get
convey
an emotion
something, huh?
across or
Oh, wow.
a thought across, and it worked like every single time. So like it wasn't just the fact that this guy wrote the story and directed these actors and created these characters
and
put these
edited
sets
them.
But he
together.
knew like the
He-
science behind the lenses.
He knew like
and
what lenses
Right.
to use. He knew when to show a close up. He knew when to put an actor where, sort of thing. Like he thought about
Wait.
every single thing and what he was trying to get across for any specific scene. Not only for that scene to be entertaining, but for like the whole movie to be cohesive in itself, sort of
Impressive.
thing. Yeah. Dude was kind of a genius. There's like no
This
question about
this
it.
seems to be his peak, right? I mean, this is his masterpiece.
People say this
right?
is his masterpiece, just
I mean,
because
we see-
Jump was so big. Like Akira was the one right before this, and this was his first action movie. It was his first samurai movie. Rashomon had samurais in it, but there was no action in it.
Right, we saw Rashomon.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I was not hit by Rashomon the way this one.
Do you remember Akiru? You do.
believe.
So like the guy from this,
Yeah.
the leader samurai, was
Yeah,
in
I remember
Akiru,
that one.
but he was dying
Okay.
of cancer and his eyes were like bulging out of his head the entire movie. It made you
Oh,
feel
I remember that.
very
Oh, shit.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. That one. I remember
yeah.
that part.
Yeah. So that was
I didn't know
the same.
I didn't know that was because of cancer. I don't remember that.
He had
being
cancer. Yeah,
said.
the whole movie was like he had cancer, and in Japanese culture, you don't tell someone if they have cancer. So like he was just suffering
Shit.
the entire
Yeah.
movie.
Oh man, yeah, that film.
Yeah.
Right. So
How many movies did he have total?
He had 30 total, and
No, but I mean, in our
six of them
list-
are on the list.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking good.
Oh yeah, for a foreign filmmaker.
I mean, we
especially
may have to go
considering,
on a run and just do all of them.
Oh fuck, I don't know.
Well, we already watched
Well,
the best ones.
Probably.
That doesn't matter. We got to do it for the podcast.
What did he do before this one? What was his one
Akiru.
before Akiru?
It was
And then
directly before
after
this. That I don't know. But they talked a lot about how Akiru was like straight drama. You know, a lot. He didn't have the telephoto lens. This is the first movie he used the telephoto lens for, and he used it a lot in this movie, which allowed for him to zoom, and it allowed for the shots where like the foreground and the background were
Good
the
depth
same
of
focus sort of thing. But before this movie, he used a lot of faces. Like he used to shove the camera in people's faces and let them act.
which
that
was
was
great, except
is
that
great.
guy had the bulging eyeballs, which is really,
It
I remember
works.
feeling like that guy was going to explode
Yeah.
at any point. It was kind of really unsettling to watch. It made it hard to
Don't you feel better,
watch the
John?
film.
After 6 years, now you know he survived to make another movie, and you just watched him do it. And he played kind of
Nice.
a calm character. I loved his character. He was so perfect for that like calm leader person.
Oh no, he was great. He was awesome.
Yeah.
I agree. He did that. He conveyed it really well. Like he conveyed the like just like command. He was the commander. He had it.
And I liked it.
Right,
I would
and-
always like look to him to see what his reaction was, to see if I should be like worried, because sometimes he would be laughing
Right,
along with
'cause
everyone
he was
else,
the-
and he's
he
like,
was the
"Oh
leader,
yeah,
right?
cool. This is an okay
so
thing to do here."
Right. So look at that. Even you see him even as the audience. You see
Well,
him as
because
the
it's
leader to
old,
see
and I'm like,
he
I don't
should
know
do,
what
right?
people should be doing. I want to know if the
Yeah.
leader thinks it's okay. If he thinks it's okay, I'm having a good time. If he's looking around, everyone else is laughing, and he's furrowing his brow. I was like, "Oh, these people shouldn't be doing this." You know. So yeah. He's my leader
Yeah.
too, John. You are correct.
Yeah. You're my leader. Can I follow you? You're an amazing samurai.
You are an amazing samurai.
A magnificent person.
Which samurai death got you the most?
I think it was Gobe or whatever his name was.
The badass one, or the jolly
nice
one?
Yeah, the first one, the jolly.
Not
one.
the first one. That was jolly one was the second one. First one was the wood
No, not
cutter.
the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy that was his old friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
know.
think that one.
That
yeah.
one was good. I don't know, the crazy guy. That death was pretty good. How he like fought through the gunshot and stabbed the
I
dude
know,
anyway.
and killed the bandit leader.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
and
was
then
good.
came in.
Yeah.
I thought that was good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked how he finished it out. He's like, "Fuck you, I'm definitely killing you. I don't care if I'm dying too."
And can I say again that the fact that this last 20, 30 minute long action scene has 0 score on it was like the best thing that ever could have happened
Yeah,
to make that
it is
action
good.
scene.
Yeah.
There was no
Not
music.
sure I even noticed.
It was
Yeah.
perfect. Like just the fact that it was just horse hooves and rain sounds and people screaming and running around and
How
stuff.
about that rain?
Was that also
How about
newish?
the rain? Was
Like-
that
like to-
real
to
or was that
not
a
have a
rain
score?
It was a
machine?
rain machine. It actually wasn't a machine.
Okay.
It was people. They said they had bamboo leaves, and I don't know. They didn't describe it well enough for me to understand. They were
just rustle
spraying it
them?
around with bamboo leaves in front of the camera.
What?
What exactly? I don't know. They said they tried it with they had a machine that sprayed it around in a circle, but it didn't look very good on camera. So they just had a bunch of bamboo leaves, and they were just like hitting the water with bamboo leaves.
Oh, like as it spun.
Oh, maybe they used both. Maybe they did.
Yeah. Like so, as it
Yeah.
spun, they used the leaves to sort
make
of
it drop
direct
straight down.
in different places.
That would make a lot
Yeah.
more sense. I'm not sure that's what
That
they
would
said.
make more sense.
but-
I was like, they're like collecting it on the leaves. There's no
I
way.
imagine
It was way
people
too much
on
water.
ladders around the shot on ladders
Yeah.
with a bamboo leaf and a hose, just like 100 of them.
That could be too. But
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, there was some of it was filling up. It was pooling on the mud, right?
Yep.
So they weren't just leaves.
And a lot of that too. So
I
they
mean,
shot
Jesus.
that last. So this movie was 4 times over budget. It ran a lot longer than they thought it was going to run. They were planning on shooting all of it like before the end of summertime, but it ran into February,
Right,
and
it
they
was like
shot.
a year long, a year
Oh,
of shooting,
wow.
wasn't it?
And they shot that last action scene in February, which is cold. It is very cold. It was near freezing. that they were doing all this in the rain when it was near freezing. The mud would freeze in between takes. They would have to have people go around and keep the mud wet. They'd have to have people stomp on it so it wouldn't freeze.
Oh, Jesus.
They had,
my God.
And Kurosawa felt so, I don't know if he felt so bad about it, but to join in the actors, he stood with the straw sandals on while he was directing in the mud just to suffer with them.
Yeah,
and they said he got frostbite and he lost some toenails.
Oh,
so not toes, but
not toes actually, but
toenails.
I didn't know you could lose toenails to frostbite. I don't understand.
Either. I'm just regurgitating information. I didn't know that.
Wow. Yeah, I lost a toenail to frostbite. It grew back. But,
so you stubbed your toe? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't know.
I stubbed it on a frozen chunk of mud. That's pretty bad too.
Still.
Wow, that's something else, though. I mean, that's
they were suffering.
You would never have noticed from seeing it. Yeah,
but maybe it helped to add the
that's the old
tension, though,
cameras
where they're showing their fear or whatever. They're like, I'm fucking cold.
Doesn't that make that shot of that dude getting dragged through the mud seem much worse? That it's freezing
way
cold.
Worse.
Cold, freezing mud. Yeah. Oh man.
And it was a long.
I mean,
shoot.
He must have been next to dead after that. I'm sorry. There's no way.
Do you want
no helmet? Nothing.
No.
He went straight. Clothes and that was it, and then foot to the horse.
It was another thing that was
at least 100 meters.
Again,
right?
really well done in the
face
film
down
that they
in sloppy
show.
mud.
Right. Again, over and over again with
Christ.
the fight sequence with the bandits, how they once they got off their horse, they were fucked. Again, that was just really well done too. Like they're showing them on the horse that they've got some power and mobility there, and then they're throwing out their horse, whatever, they're fucked. And again, over and over, they did these great battle sequences of showing that, like they're unhorsing them, so that then they're gone.
Unhorse me.
Yes,
I have been unhorsed. I am fucked.
I am now fucked. I shall run away, but I'm still probably fucked. But I shall still try.
I need to get rehorsed, otherwise I am fucked.
And there, my horse is too far gone. So indeed, I am terribly in trouble right now.
Stabbed 100 times.
Yes.
I thought that scene where the old guy,
hurts.
they were trying to keep that one bandit alive and they were keeping everyone back, but then the old woman or the old man came with the hoe, and I was like, oh crap, they're just going to let this old woman hack away at this guy.
Right?
That's brutal.
She's going to destroy
She gets her revenge because
and
she
the
was
old
so
guy's
miserable,
let him do it. She needs the revenge, and you're like, this is gruesome. Like they didn't show any of it, but I was like, that is pretty dark right there.
Yeah.
Everyone in town's going to watch this old woman struggle to murder this guy, but she's going to succeed.
Yeah.
This was back in the day where there was only 4 channels of sound. So any scene where there was, typically 2 of the channels would be taken up by the main dialogue and then background dialogue, like background stuff.
Yeah.
And then they would have a track for Foley and a track for the score, and that's it. So you wouldn't be able to play around with levels or anything like that beyond those. So you basically would have like a printed sound track that you just have to throw into the mix, and all you could do is turn it up or down. Like you couldn't adjust anything in the mix,
and it had to be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly thought the sound was good.
Oh yeah,
I thought they got some great
I didn't like the
stuff.
score that much, but I'm glad.
I liked some of it. I thought the intro stuff was good. The drums.
Oh, actually, you know what? You know what? What I did like was the sort of like moaning stuff, which is totally Star Wars ripped off, like the that part. Like they do that for like the Empire scenes in Star Wars too. I did like that, but was it relatively new to not have score, to like cut out the score entirely? Because it seems like some of these older films we saw, it's like fucking violins in your face.
We haven't watched. I don't know. They didn't talk about it, but certainly compared to Hollywood movies, it's different.
The Hollywood
than that.
movies, like the goddamn most of the time, most of the films we saw back in that era, it felt like they were still like migrating from the silent era. Mm-hmm. So they just had,
loved the sound. They're like, check it out, guys.
Friggin' sound in your face, no matter what.
Yeah, they didn't touch on groundbreaking. That being groundbreaking, so maybe not so much, but certainly done effectively.
Oh yeah, very. I would have been annoyed.
I would have too. It was 15 minutes into the sequence. I'm like, no soundtrack yet. They're definitely not going to put anything in. This is awesome.
They probably didn't have the channel.
Probably not. Yeah,
maybe not.
we got horses on one. We got gunshots on 2.
It wasn't visionary shit. It was we ran out of space.
We're out of gas, man.
We got rain on 3. We got people yelling on 4. That's all we got, guys.
That's all we got. Sorry.
Exactly.
The score guy's like, oh,
I know.
Take a
sorry,
man,
score
we're out of
guy.
channels.
That's not, we got a priority here. Sorry, man. If we had
Classic.
one
The
more
first
track-
thing to get cut is audio.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They used real samurai. All right, just gonna go off list style here. Stuff I haven't gone
Go.
on so far. Yeah, these commentary tracks are not good overall, I guess.
Oh, that's too bad.
Unless you're a
They-
film student, unless you
Oh, well,
like to be lectured on composition and stuff. Like, it's probably pretty useful there. But they just state what you already see.
So these guys were good, like technically good, right? They're not like some like, oh, I'm Bartholomew, whatever, and I
They
know
were
this
kinda
guy, and
like
he was
the
in this
first guy was
film.
kind of like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
too bad.
Ooh.
Like half of it was talking
Yeah,
about how
that's tough.
good it was, and I would say a quarter of it was talking about what was going on screen. Like, this character here, this is where he gets introduced. You're like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
thanks,
watching the movie.
Fucko. I'm
Yeah.
watching it with you.
This is where he gets introduced. Yeah.
This scene here, they
Okay.
talk about
Appreciate that.
hiring samurai, and they add a
Right.
little funny joke here in the end about how
Yeah,
they need
and
hungry
then he-
samurai.
he-
It's pretty clever. This
here's-
is one of
if you'll-
Kurosawa's
yeah,
best comedic
right.
lines of the movie.
If
Like,
you'll
God damn
notice,
it.
here's where he dies.
Yeah. But they do. He did talk a lot about the shots and stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, then it's probably pretty useful, I would imagine, because it wouldn't hurt ripping this guy off, Kurosawa,
Well,
in terms of how
no,
to
it
shoot
didn't,
stuff.
it didn't hurt. Apparently, everybody ripped him off.
Continue
But no,
doing
right.
it.
Yes.
Yeah. Creation of the blockbuster movies. Rip this guy off. Sure. Real samurai outfits.
I like that. I like their patterns. I like that they've got like cool patterns on their outfits and like designs and stuff.
Was the goofball samurai pantsless just because he could only steal the shirt from that one guy?
I don't know. Are they just he ran hot? I don't know.
He ran out. Can you imagine their decision to keep him pantsless in February when they're shooting in the rain?
Oh shit! Yeah.
He's like, can I just please change the storyline here where I have pants on?
Can I have some like I don't know? Give me a skirt. These other guys got skirts.
They're like, no,
I got
no.
this
It's
thong.
funnier when you have no pants on.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
That was good. I mean, it really did show like how much of a wild man that guy was.
Yeah. He was great. He was very charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
That mill scene where they right outside where he's like, "This is me," and he has the child in his hands. That mill scene they got to burn 3 times to get all the camera shots that he wanted.
Wow.
Smaller set than the giant bandit camp, I guess. So yeah, telephoto lens in 54 is very rare. It's kind of groundbreaking there. Other movies had used
Really?
it, but it was like a kind of a new lens at the time. So he was using new technology.
What would
Which is good.
so they wouldn't the idea they just bring the camera closer? I guess they wouldn't zoom in. I don't know. So what's the difference? Like
So telephoto,
bringing the
you
camera.
can actually like zoom while you're taking a shot, and then also you can have it so like whatever's in the background and whatever's in the foreground are both in focus with the
Oh,
telephoto
okay,
lens. So
okay.
it's not like
I see.
the person in the foreground is in focus, the background's out of focus, which is
right.
the older type of lens. But yeah, this one just lets you see a lot more, a lot clearer, which
That's right.
is very useful in this movie. Yeah, 3 camera setup. So I think I didn't get back to this point. So for the Toho, the fact that the production was canceled every once in a while, some people say that he had to go to the board of directors and try to sell the movie and kind of argue with them, be like, this movie's going to be good. You need to give us more money. I know what I'm doing. But then some other stories talk about how he wasn't worried because he knew that he had all the footage. He had like enough footage to make an awesome movie. So instead of doing the arguing, he actually just went out and went fishing and waited for them to say, okay, continue. So like,
Really? So he wasn't
there's
really like
2
begging or anything. He's like, look, I'm good.
It depends
but
on who
I'm
you
not going to
believe.
really work. I'm going to let, if they're going to extend me, that's also good too.
Yeah. The fishing
Right.
story is a better story, I guess.
Yeah.
But both of those stories exist. So yeah.
Yeah. Well,
crapshoot.
it certainly, I don't know.
Who knows? You never know with
I don't know.
Hollywood.
I
They
have
make
no-
up all
what
sorts of
was
shit.
What was Kurosawa like as a person? Do we have any idea?
Yeah,
Like,
there was a documentary on him. He's really great. He's humble. He doesn't think highly of himself. He just describes what he's like Del Toro kind of. He's just
Oh, yeah.
he says what
He's
his
like-
intentions are.
like he's excited, but also enjoys what he's
he
doing
loves it.
too.
Yeah,
like
yeah. He
that?
wore
Yeah.
like a T-shirt that's like "Cinema is Life" or something like that.
Aw.
I mean, he thought that he had some like he said some things about how he thought movies could like join cultures together because like what he wanted to do was appeal to all cultures because he focused on the characters and emotion. So like all this other stuff might be like historical or like specific to your country, but the main parts of all of his stories were basic human emotions that he tried to make simple enough. And that was a big part of his movies too. He wanted to make them easy to understand. That was like one of the two things that he thought was important for movies, but just enough so you could relate to the characters. You could sympathize with them, and because everyone's kind of the same. And he thought that it was really powerful that you could do that through film, and that's what he did.
Right.
And he's not like, I'm the best person ever. That. He's just like, this is what I tried to do.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the idea. I do love the more idea, just because I don't like the idea of Akira Kurosawa being like all tense and begging. Him sitting back going, we'll just let him do it. See if they give me more money, and that'd be cool.
He did change his tone. So like when he was being interviewed for these documentaries and stuff, he was very calm. He had very clear answers, very good answers. And I liked his thoughts on a lot of things. When you see him directing, he's a little more strict. He's never like mean or anything from what they show, but like he's a perfectionist.
In charge.
Yeah. Like he wants to get something right. And for this movie, they didn't have a lot of, which I don't really understand this, but like they had time to run rehearsals for everything. And they would like move the cameras and practice everything. I guess film is just super expensive back then, but like they would do the rehearsals over and over and over again until it was right. And then they would roll once and get it.
Oh, wow.
So like, why not just roll 15 times? It must just be the film
expensive.
cost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Way too
expensive. But I mean, you have like 100 people on set, and you have like everyone moving around and doing all the stuff. I guess 100 people are just cheaper than like film.
Well, but I guess if you've got 3 cameras, you're likely to use
that's true.
The one shot, not all of them.
It might have been quite expensive. Like it might.
It's a new type of film stock. It's like state of the arts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe so it was just probably expensive.
And you're using like how many feet are you using per second or whatever of this stuff? That's probably going to adds up to a shit.
You got a 3.5 hour long movie here. It's going to be a lot of film.
Yeah.
Plus,
so the cost of it, unfortunately, doesn't end with the movie being complete. You got to store it. You got to keep it. You got to put it somewhere. You got to develop it. You got to, it's unbelievable.
It's probably harder to edit if you have like way too much
right
footage.
Now, most of the places they store film are cold storage that you pay for, that the studio pays for. So that's a cost that they've been trying to get rid of for 50 years now. They're finally getting to because everything's digital. But, for a long time, you had to have a storage facility also available that would take the film and store it for you. Now, depending on how much there is, that might not be that much money. But for something like this back then, I mean, that was a cost too. So everything cost, not just the film and getting the shot. It's the ancillary stuff around it too, like processing.
All great points. I was the most wrong I've ever been. Just completely shut down.
Oh, no. Denny, I'm sure you've been far more wrong.
Never been more wrong than that.
No, I'm just trying to say that there's more that you never think about on top of it.
But I mean, it is crazy because he is a perfectionist. He just they do the takes until everyone gets it right in his mind, and then they shoot, and then they all get it. Yeah. But he definitely...
Well, he knows what he's wanting.
He knows
what
he wants.
Right? I mean,
he drew it on a paper first, right? So he knows exactly.
He's thought about this, right? Yeah. So
the goofball character, stayed in character all shoot.
Did he really?
Must have gotten to be a lot. Yep.
That must have been annoying.
Yep. There was actually things got so tense on set at one point that I don't have too many details on this, which is upsetting. But he apparently pulled a gun on Kurosawa. And,
what?
Yeah, put it in his face.
Wow.
I wish I had more details on that, right?
That's all you got?
Right.
That's all I got. That apparently happened.
That's a terrible stop. Yeah.
Give me the whole story.
I'm not going to do this take.
It's like a tease,
I'm not going to do this take again.
With no end in sight. Yeah. You're never going to scratch the itch.
It's too fucking cold. I'm done. Yeah. Give me some boots.
Yeah. It's one of those things, probably. It's like, I'm freezing here. Where'd you get the gun? Jesus.
Yeah, right.
Alec Baldwin gave it to me.
Where does that get us? Oh.
Another one of Kurosawa's quotes that he said all the time is, and it was the name of the documentary, is, "It is wonderful to create."
Aww.
That's his general tone of things. Kurosawa is himself a descendant of samurai. So this is always kind of a topic he's always wanted to touch on. So the two things he thinks a movie need to be are interesting and easy to understand.
Yep.
those
that
two
makes
things.
sense.
Sounds simple and easy,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
if you have those
Oh,
as your
it's
goals,
not.
then
But interesting and easy is hard.
interesting
to
is
combine those
hard.
two.
Easy to understand should be easy, but frequently isn't, right?
Especially
Yeah,
not
I
if you're
know.
trying to be interesting. Then you're kind of fucked both ways.
Yep.
Well, I mean, half the time these people that create now don't even know what their story ends like. So, like, they're going into shooting. Oh, what are we going to do?
And then they convince themselves, oh, people like weird movies these
Yeah.
days. We'll just make it
So
like
we'll
hard to understand.
Make
we'll
it
combine
weird.
it with something else and we'll call it art. And, you know, circle jerk
and I'll
ourselves
buy
off.
it up. I'll go buy it up.
Yeah.
Nice and easy.
And then if we
Thanks,
get the
A24.
marketing to just say how amazing
Yeah.
it is,
Hey.
people will
Yep.
buy it. And that's all it is.
The world's a better place with A24 in it.
I
though.
agree. I'm making
Oh,
fun of them,
yeah.
but
I know.
they pump out some art house stuff sometimes.
Yeah. It's good.
So they had 3 screenwriters. Kurosawa was one of them, and they went through like 3 whole different ideas beforehand that kind of fell apart. One of which was a day in the life of a samurai, and they talked about how he worked for like the king in a castle, and at the end of the day, he failed his job and he performs harikiri, and that would be the end of the movie.
Oof.
They didn't quite like that one as much.
Yeah.
So they jumped to the opposite end of the spectrum. It's like, let's just like create a movie about 5 samurai that existed and tell their stories one by one. And then the guy wrote the full script, or the team of 2 wrote the full script. Kurosawa read it and was like, you can't have a movie that's just climax after climax after climax. That does not work very well. So like with all these big ideas, they went through them. They finally had the idea for this one. And then they went to an inn and they shut themselves in for 45 days. 3 guys at a table, 45 days. They didn't leave. They wrote the scripts to this movie.
Nice.
And this is
Wow.
this is
Now,
what,
that's a cool
you know,
story.
happens.
That's a
Yeah.
cool story.
Lots of just general idea brainstorming, scripts being thrown out, and then just
You got to write the
nonstop
garbage
writing.
before you get to the best, you know?
Yeah, and the way their process would be, so Kurosawa doesn't write too much, but he comes up with ideas. Like he doesn't physically write things down, but he has ideas, and they would go around the table, and the 2 writers, like one guy would write where he thinks the story wants to go. He'd pass it to the next guy. He would read it, and either that guy would say like, "This is good," and then continue the story, or he'd say, "This is not good," and he would rewrite it. So every single page was like reviewed immediately, and then either said like good or bad, and if it was bad, it was rewritten.
Wow.
And they just did that for 45 days until
And
this
now,
was a
fast
movie.
forward, you can have Claude AI look at the first draft, have ChatGPT analyze it, and then have some other one rewrite it, and you can do it all by yourself in your home.
Oh, we're good.
Isn't that great? Fucking A, how the times have changed, huh?
Every character should be Chris Hemsworth. Your movie will be awesome.
That's right.
Yeah. Look, I got a movie for you. It's got Chris Hemsworth, every character.
Yeah.
Sold.
Yeah. It's great because the budget, all we got to pay him is once, but he plays
That's right.
5 characters.
No, what we have to do is just wait until he dies, and then we can use his likeness for free.
Oh, that's right.
It's genius.
Just data mine it. We'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So the entire original score, Kurosawa worked with this composer before, and the guy composed an entire score, and the entire thing was rejected. Every single piece of the
Wow,
score rejected.
that sucks. That's tough.
Yeah. So the guy panicked, and he went back to like the trash can of what he was working on a bunch of this movie and other movies, and just pulled stuff that he didn't think was that good and handed it all over. And some of that,
Made it.
some of this,
They-
like not
they
all of it,
found
but like
some
some
of
of it. So all of the score of the movie was made from some of that stuff that he threw out, if that makes sense.
I mean, again, the
Yeah,
score was
wow.
completely forgettable. So other than the that I like,
I thought the drums in the beginning were pretty good.
Drums good.
it
Drums were
was-
good. You're right. I like
And then I
drums.
do remember there were multiple scenes where there was like okay music with a terrible flute on top of it, where it's like this
Yeah.
person knows how to play the flute. I don't think so. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I could do this by like. It actually might be hard to make it sound.
Have
this
you
bad.
heard
Well, maybe,
Japanese
I don't know. I
music
mean,
though? They
I
do
was
some
gonna
of
say,
that.
there's
Like
a different a different tonality to it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the right word is, but that sounds off compared to like what we're used to hearing.
Yeah.
yeah.
But like,
I'm just a
even
dumb
their
American
sing-
over
their-
here, so
Yeah, I
Well, no,
think
but
that's
it's just
part of it.
different.
Yeah, I think you've been
They're
wrong
singing
twice
at the
now.
end,
We're gonna
like-
tally that up.
Right, right.
That one
This
wasn't as
time-
bad though. I feel okay about that one.
No,
We're gonna start
it's
keeping
just
track.
different.
We're gonna throw it up
It's
on the
just a very-
website. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's right.
Just
You're
two
right.
big
You've been wrong.
dashes on this
That's
one.
almost 5 times, Denny. Now 5
That's
wrongs.
unacceptable.
Yeah.
I know.
400
well,
episodes.
The trivia
5
guy's
times, that's- I don't
wrong.
like
How
that.
can we trust him?
But no,
System's
there's
falling apart.
there's a very different tonality. Like even the peasant singing at the end, it seems very like off key to us.
Yeah.
But that's a very a very common sort of like pattern, or it doesn't sound harmonious to us, but in
finish the sentence, John. What are you going to say?
Yeah, wow.
There you go. Okay.
It's cultural. It's
He's
cultural.
not going to be able to
It's
finish
like,
the sentence.
No. It's cultural, and it just
Guy's
varies.
sleeping
It's
right
like
now.
that doesn't sound. It doesn't sound pleasing to us in terms of what we're used to hearing, but in other cultures it does.
It's like Vegemite,
Because
is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's acquired.
Australians
or
love
whatever.
Vegemite, but nobody else knows
Right.
why.
Apparently,
Or the didgeridoo.
I like the didgeridoo.
Come on, come on. We like didgeridoo.
Whoa, come on, it's
Come on,
cool.
that's pretty cool.
What else we got? The guy who plays the badass samurai. I started that sentence out nicely. The guy Doobu Doobu.
Sword
the
guy.
swordsman, originally rejected the role because he didn't know how to use a sword and he was afraid that he was going to look like an idiot. But Kurosawa convinced him that through camera tricks that he would look great. And look at that.
And he
did.
does.
And he does.
He had great poses with the sword. I do love that. I love how they'd like pull the sword out and then they'd hold it up like high.
Yeah.
It looks.
I'm
it
not
just
getting near
looks
that
really
guy.
cool.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
it looks really cool. It's not like you're just pulling your sword out. You're like doing this thing with it where you're like, I don't know, like you're arcing it over your head. It looks and you're like you got this like wide stance. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know how that works practically, but it looks like you're gonna fuck some shit up.
Mm-hmm. That is true. All right, I'm almost done here.
Cool.
So the snow. So there was rain written into the script for that last fight scene anyway, but right before they were about to start shooting it, it snowed,
Oh, fuck.
and they didn't want snow anywhere, so they had to go around and melt the snow with their water trucks, and that created the mud from the get-go.
Yay. Icy mud.
Icy mud, freezing cold mud created from snow. So,
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like
my
that.
God.
I just feel like those are cool problems to solve because it's just like in the moment. What are we going to do? Well, we could do this.
it's
And then
always just
someone
something
else like,
simple.
well, we could put
Get
water
it
down.
wet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, do we have the water? Like, we got 7 water trucks for all the rain. You're like, do it.
All right.
Do
Do
it
it
now.
Fuck it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The village was filmed in 5 different locations,
Whoa.
believe it or not. So
Wouldn't have known.
that's just weird. Like, I mean, I don't know. They didn't
Black
say
and
why they
white
needed
does
to do
that for you because all you
Yeah,
have
it's
is
easier to blend it, right?
Shapes. Right.
Right. But it's cool how they got it to blend. And the hardest part production wise was that the places were so far apart from each other that they needed to get different horses at each place. And they ran into issues with not only getting the horses, but matching the horses because they're different horses.
Oh,
so
wow.
anticipating this problem, they put makeup on the horses. So every time they got horses from a different place, they would like paint them or whatever, like
Paint
put
them
horse
so they
makeup
look-
on
oh.
them. So they all looked the same.
What a tiny detail that none of us would have ever noticed.
Yeah. Well, you might have noticed it if it looked terrible. If you're
Well,
like,
I guess if
that-
it was
that
like an
important
opposite
horse-
color of before, I guess maybe
Right.
it would. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things to keep it, it's a lot of work to keep the movie cohesive. And it's important to keep
and
it
they're
cohesive so
doing
you
it-
get lost in the storyline.
And
you
they're
know?
doing it on set. They're not doing it in the post like people
Right.
do now. Right.
They did
To
it
make
before they
cohesive.
started shooting it. They thought
Right.
of the problem and they fixed it
Right.
before it was an issue, which
Right.
is, thoughtful. And the last piece of trivia I have is more damage stuff. So this was throughout the movie, but specifically for the love scenes with specifically the woman character who falls in love with the samurai. In the script, it was written that her eyes were glittering and twinkling. So they were trying to get light reflected off of her eyes in the shots. And nowadays they have easier ways to do that. There's like some technique that I think I've described in the podcast before, but it's super technical and I don't remember. But for this movie, they didn't have that. They just had giant mirrors that they like bounced the sun rays off of and pointed it in her face
Oh, nice.
to get the reflection on. And she had, people got damaged eyes. She had eye damage.
What?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh. Poor girl.
Yeah.
Hey, but they got the shot,
actually-
huh?
They got the shot. It's what it's worth. And they actually,
Can't
she
see
had,
anymore. She
lot
couldn't
of
watch the movie, but hey, she looked great in it,
It was great.
But they actually so a lot of that forest stuff, we didn't mention how cool the forest, like where the love story takes place. That forest is crazy. There's just flowers all over the ground. And then there's just like vines that didn't look gross hanging all over the place.
And imagine
right? It was
seeing that
like
in
it
color.
did look nice.
I wish we had seen
Yeah.
it in color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked pretty damn cool.
It was.
But they shot there and then blasted her eyes with the sun. But then they had to recreate a set and do kind of studio lights instead of the sun. So they kept going with the stuff in her eyes, but they moved it to a studio because she was damaging her eyeballs.
So who knew the reason why she was crying for like 30 seconds was because she
That's
couldn't
right.
see.
Yeah. I wonder why she
nothing
let
to do
that
with the
fucking
acting.
She's actually
thing
not that
run.
good of an actor.
She was
just in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. My opinion of her in this movie is just lower. That's easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
It's
So
terrible.
this is a stupid question, but would you put this movie in the top 250?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
If you're a
Yeah.
film student,
Yeah.
watch this one. If you're just a normal person, break it up into 2 nights like we
even
did.
If I didn't like
It's a damn
this,
good movie.
If I somehow didn't like it, you'd have to still put it in because of its influence. But Jesus, it's still so good.
And it doesn't start off slow, I think. If you're like worried about it being long and slow, it starts off fast. It starts off with running. It starts off with a quick intro, and then you're into really fun samurai
And funny
interviews, basically.
things. Really
And
funny
yeah.
things. Yeah. Like,
And it's not
just-
slow paced, it's quick. Like it feels like it moves fast, which is
Oh, come on. We messed out the
important.
best part. When he goes on the horse for the first time, I
Yeah.
And he
burst
falls
out
off?
laughing when the course comes through and he's not on
Yeah.
it
Right,
anymore.
right, and he's
I
not
was
on
I
it.
expected
laughing
nobody.
hysterically.
I expected nobody to come out. Right? I thought
but
him
when
and the
the
horse were going to
horse
crash.
came
But
out,
it
it
was
was-
just the horse.
Boom. What a great punchline that was. He had just talked shit, too. It was awesome. So that whole first part is a lot of things like that where they just have a really good bits. And so, yeah, worth watching and definitely starts out fast, like Denny said.
Yeah. Sweet. All right, guys.
What are we doing next?
19 down.
Long
We're going to
legs.
go to the theaters this week.
Woohoo!
That's
Long
Don't,
legs.
don't
I'm gonna
say
get
so.
my,
Don't say any.
get
I
my,
want to go into this one blind.
Do that.
All I know right now is it's a horror film and Nicolas Cage is in it.
Dude,
That's
Do
it.
you know who directed it?
Don't watch
you
the
told me,
trailer.
but okay.
You
told me,
because
but
you
I don't
might
know
shit
any.
your
I didn't
pants
see. I haven't seen that
watching the
guy's film,
trailer.
so I looked at
okay?
the other films he's done, and I've not
No,
seen
so
it. So
the director is the son of Anthony Perkins,
oh,
the guy
of the
from Psycho.
the guy from Psycho. Oh, okay. No, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
Horrors in his blood.
I'm ready. I'm going to
I'm
go
ready
Friday
to.
night.
I'm excited.
I'm gonna say-
I'm going
I'm
tomorrow
really
night.
excited to see Nicolas Cage in the shower.
I don't even know
Is
if
he in
we
the
see
shower?
him, but we definitely hear him.
Yeah, like
I
Psycho,
know that much.
except it's
Oh,
Nicolas
yeah,
Cage.
yeah.
He's going to be like soaping himself up.
I don't know if we
It'd
see
be
him
great.
much, to be honest, because I can hear him in the trailer, but I didn't see him at all. So we'll see.
Don't tell me.
I don't know.
I'm going blind.
No, I think that's
And-
either
and
on
I actually-
purpose or he's going
Right.
to play even more of a scary
And so
character. than we
Nikki
think.
Nikki wants me to go to this party that I don't really want.
Well,
that,
now
that-
you're
that's
going
like
to the
for some
movies. You
work
tell
done.
us sorry.
Yeah,
Well, no.
Cage
That's
calls.
the
You can
exchange.
blame me, John.
I'll go to that party, and then she's going to go see this movie with me, and I'm going to say, I don't
Nikki's
know.
gonna go with
We're
you?
just going to go see it.
Oh, I don't know. Be careful, man.
boy.
This one might be a bad idea for that. My mom was going to go with me, and then I read up in it more, and I was like, "You're not coming."
You haven't read any of the reviews, John?
I've read nothing. I
Wow.
want to go in this blind.
Nick, you might get divorced
But-
if you bring
Yeah,
Nikki to this
I would
movie.
say
okay, well,
maybe
maybe-
skip that. Go
If she can
alone.
handle
Maybe-
horror movies, though,
maybe-
she'll be fine. But
well,
if she,
no, she's not a horror movie fan. Maybe I need
Yeah,
to
I
go do
would
this
say-
one like on my own.
this seems like an extreme horror movie.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's good to know. But I don't want to know anything else. but
Okay.
that
Don't bring
maybe
Nikki,
will-
though.
will not
she
do
might
that,
hate you.
but-
She might leave.
Put it this way: one of
Yeah.
the things that I read was each
No,
frame.
nope.
No.
Nope.
No,
Each
I don't wanna
frame
hear
is
it.
full
Don't
of
say
terror. That's it. Each frame is full of terror. So imagine that.
Okay.
Each
Right.
frame.
That
So
sounds
it's going to
exciting.
be scary as fuck, is what I'm saying. That's all I know.
That'll be interesting.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be great.
It's
I'm
gonna
going
be
to
good.
opening night,
Me,
Thursday night, packed
I'll
theater.
go like Sunday night with nobody there.
And I'm
Hey,
sitting
it'll just be
all
you
the way in the
and
back.
the fucking guy again, and he'll be like,
I'm
"What is
all the way in the
wrong
back.
with this dude?"
Hey, yeah, right.
I'm gonna bring my blanket, my horror movie blanket. I drape it over my lap so people can't see what I'm doing, and I just watch everybody from the back.
Oh, like a
Nice.
weirdo in Siberia.
Yeah.
What do you mean you have
Okay.
a blanket over your lap
Okay.
so they can't see what you're doing? What is that about?
Nothing.
What do you
It doesn't mean anything, John. Why would you think that?
I don't know. You're the one that brought a blanket so they
Look,
can't see
John,
what you're
you must
doing.
know. You go to the movies alone with just the fucking the guy
I have
in
no
the back.
blanket. I have
right?
nothing to hide.
Some of us
It's you
carry
and
a
the
healthy amount of shame with
projectionist,
us.
John. We know
I don't
it.
know what's going on there, Denny.
All right, boys, go see the movie.
right.
All right, guys.
We'll see you
Yeah,
next time.
okay.
All right.
Talk to you next week.
Right, bye.
Later.